All right. Good evening, and I know it's 10 minutes past or 15 minutes past class time. First thing we're going to do, we're going to start with Lab 18. What we're going to do in Lab 18 is we're going to go over the host file. Y'all are familiar with the host file from Windows, correct? Well, what a host file is it was the old way to do DNS. Y'all know what DNS is, right? Domain name service. All it does is take the canonical name, like google.com, and match it to an IP address. So if you really wanted to have fun with someone, you would always screw up their host file by changing the IP address or the canonical name to some random IP address or whatever. Okay. One of the favorite ones is to take the canonical name of google.com and put it with the yahoo.com IP address. So anytime someone types in google.com, the host file is the first DNS measurement that it goes through. So the computer will look for that host file first before it goes to a DNS server to find out how to get to a place. If there's nothing in the host file, it knows how to get out from there. Does that make sense? Okay. So what we're going to do for Lab 18, it says that we need to make sure that we have an open SSH server, which we do. Okay, I've already got that set up for us. Then what we're going to do is we're going to log in with CME Student. Okay, with the password fit714tree, right? Everyone with me? Pretty simple concepts. Okay. Now what's the first thing we need to do? We need to come up here to Activities, and we need to go in and do, come on. Open up a terminal. Alright. By default, we are in what mode? Non-privileged user mode, right? We have the $sign. So, since we're in a non-privileged mode, in order to edit anything, you have to be in a privileged mode, right? So the command for that is going to be su superuser c, and then we need to do a vi, right? I don't want to do vi. I want to do gedit, if I can spell. But you could do it with VI, you could do it with Vim, or you could do it with Nano, or any text program, like TextPad, Notepad kind of thing. Gedit, we'll do etc host. What we're looking for here is we're going to go we're open up gedit, and we're looking at our file host in the etc directory. Okay? Now, what is it going to do since I'm trying to elevate my permissions? What is my password? Bird482 dog. Okay? Boom. There we go. Even though they like to give me other stuff. Now, notice I had already set it up here. Is what we're going to have. Okay? etc file, by default, would not have anything in there. So when you go to set up your etc file, or your host file, it will be like this. All it's saying is, if I typed in 127.0.0.1, or I typed in localhost or localhost.localdomain, it would bring it up in where it needs to go, right? It would find the IP, it would say 127.0.0.1. That's where it needs if I type in localhost. Right. So when you start a web server by default, your local host IP address is going to be 127.0.0.1. That's all it's saying. So in this instance, we need to create an entry into this. Now, with any file in Linux, if you put a $, what are you doing? You're commenting it out, correct? In this case, neither one are commented out. This is your : 1 is your loop back for IPv6. But in this case, I know my server is going to be 10.10.51. I hit the tab key, and so if I type in class, it takes that domain name or the canonical name to 10.10.50 or 10.10.50.1. Does that make sense? Kurt, you've already done this. You know exactly what I'm doing. Okay. Now, notice I have the asterisk up here, which means that it has not been saved, so I'm going to save it. It is now done. Pretty simple, right?
Did you just tab over, or does the white
yeah.
matter?
It does, because if you put it class next to your IP, it's going to say, hey, I don't understand this IP. So you have to have at least a space in there. I like tab to keep it over there, just to move it a column out. Okay? Now, since we've done that, let's just look at it, okay? If we're going to look at a file, we're going to call it cat, right? And it tells me that I have the 127.0.0.1, which is my loopback, colon 1, which is a loopback, and then my 10.10.51, which is my class server. Correct?
Right.
Everyone's with me. And Aaron, don't burn this place down.
I think he's trying to.
Yeah, it kind of looked like it. Just hope there's not a fire alarm there. All right. So, since we've got out, we don't have to edit it with a classroom thing because we've already done that, right? With the VI or the gedit or the vim, right? Everyone with me? Now, what command do you use to exit out of a VI editor? Capital ZZ, right? Or we shift ZZ. Right. And that gets you out of it. Aaron, they want 3 bags and Terry's. Okay. So, now that we've done that, we can do what we call SSH, secure shell into, or telnet into the server. Now, you're not going to type in telnet, you're going to type in SSH, and then what user? It's specified, we're going to do it with Rose, right?
Right.
So I'm going to do Rose is my user at, now, I could say at 10.10.51 here if I wanted to, if I knew the IP address. But do you know the IP address of Google? No. So you would be Rose at Google. Does that make sense? Okay. SSH. I hit enter. What is my password? It's going to be fit714TREE. Okay. Now, this looks awfully familiar, doesn't it? Except it says Rose at localhost. Not to be confused, this localhost is not to be confused with the student localhost. Because I did not set a domain name class. If I go to the server and change it real quick, I can change it to class, and then when you go, it would be Rose at class. I'll probably need to do that to alleviate some confusion. And you know how you know you're at class?
PWD.
Print working directory. Home Rose, right? Well, could I not have had the home directory Rose on my local machine? Right?
Yeah.
What other information could I do? What about a who? Oh, wait a minute. Is Scott sitting there? Do we have a Scott on our local machine? No. That's my administrator account. Who am I? You're Rose. Again, you still don't know what you're at. But you could do it this way. You can do an if config. And notice that, where are you? Does that make sense? That shows you where you're at. An if config is the same thing as IP config in the fact that Linux is interface config. So that's how you can see where you're really at without knowing. Okay? On ENS, right? Y'all seen the ENS 32. This is my 32-bit address. And it also has a loopback address over there called 127.0.0.1, right? We just talked about that. Everyone cool with that? Understand it? All right. So, I can also say, what is my host name? Localhost.local domain. Terry is in 210. But if I change that to class, then you would have known where you were at. Does that make sense? That's why I did the if config to kind of show you that we had gone into the other one. Now, how much space is available in the boot directory in the classroom server? Well, we can do df, right? What is it going to tell me? df tells me how much is used and how much is available, right? Now, I could just do a df-h, and that's also going to tell me the exact same thing, except permission denied for that. You don't have access to the D drive on the server. Okay? Notice Ben is not in here, right?
Can't you go to SU to get privilege? You want to make a difference?
You're already an administrator on this one.
Already.
Well, I'm not going to give Rose administrator, I should say. Let's say I do free-m, right? How many megabytes are free? How many megabytes are free? 65. Okay? So y'all understand how it's going right now, to working down your commands. Now, if I wanted to run a application, let's say the calc, right? So if I did genome calculator, I'm going to get a permission denied, right? Why? Because you're telnetting. If you're telnetting or coming across secure shell, you do not have permission to X. X not meaning just anything. It means the start X configuration. You don't have permissions to it. Now, what if I did start dash X, or I'm sorry, let's exit out now, okay? Now I'm back to student, right? But if I did SSH dash X rows at class, what am I doing now? What am I doing now? So if I come up here, hit gnome calculator, because I don't have permissions to it, am I going to be able to get it? But what if I did gnome disks? Still don't have permission, do I? But it's just showing you, when you're on a secure shell, you cannot get graphical information. Is there any questions on that? Now, what if I did this and then just said gnome disks? Would that give me permission then? Again, y'all understand? You actually have to have your own, be logged into that local machine to get the X. But you understand now how to do a secure shell, right? That was what I wanted out of that. So now let's look at Lab 19. Now, one thing you're going to have to do is we're right here on our terminal, right? By default, you do not have system config printer installed for Lab 19. So you're going to have to go in with a super user sleeve yum-y install system config printer. Now, it's going to, because I already have it installed, it'll tell me I already have it installed. But y'all will need to do it. Well, I guess if I typed in the right password, right? So it'll go through and say, hey, here's all the updates that we need to install this. If you run into a problem where something gives you permission denied and it tells you that you should have it installed, install it doing the super user command. Yeah. See, and it's already done it on here. Maybe not. I think I only did it on the server. Okay, now system configuration is complete, right? So now I just need to type in system config printer.
So you had to do that just to be able to do stuff.
That is correct. Now it's going to give me my wonderful graphical interface here, right? Is everyone with me?
Right.
So now that I have this, I want to go, it brings up my print settings. So we need to click add. We're going to have to do it with our administrator privileges, which is going to be our bird password. Okay. Now notice we got extra things added now that we're administrator, right? So It asked me if I want to adjust the firewall. I haven't done anything yet. First things first, we need to go to a generic serial port printer. Okay? Click on serial port 1. What you need, Jerry? It's on the other side. The bags are on the left side in the box. We'll go to the generic. Once we click on serial port 1, you click forward. Okay? We're going to select a printer from the database, right? We're going to do a generic. I'm just following the steps straight down for you. Click again forward. Why? Because that's just telling us that we're doing... Now, if you had an actual printer that you wanted to do, you'd do the exact same steps, but you would put whatever printer company and the drivers that you would need for that. All right. In this case, we're going to do a text-only generic printer because we're only doing a virtual printer. We're going to click forward. We're going to give it a name. And in the box it says printer. Okay, description. My generic printer. All right? And if you wanted to give it a location, you could give it a location. You can click apply. Again, we need to authenticate it as the user. I'm not going to do a test page because there's not one to connect to. So now that we've done this, we've got one set up. Now we're going to go back to the terminal mode and we're going to talk a little bit about how to display information from the printer. So we'll do LP stat -A. And it says using text only. I'm sorry. Printer accepting requests. Tells me the status of that printer. Everyone with me?
Yes, yes.
That's what LP stat is. Laser. It's. I always call it laser printer, but it's printer stat. Tell me the status of the printer. That's all it is. Or you can just do LPQ. What do you think LPQ is? The print queue, right? Printer's ready, no entries. If do what now? Yes, sir. So let's try this one. What if I want to print it out of my host file, right? LPR. Printing host on the printer. Pretty cool, huh? So, unfortunately, the output's going to print too quickly for the queue to see it. So, how do we do this? Well, we can do it SU-C. We can do cups disable. What do we call that printer? This printer, right? So I've just disabled cups. All right. Now I'm going to do an LPR to etc host. And what is it going to do? Now I can look at the LPQ and it's going to tell me student who I am. I have 2 jobs. I'm printing the file name host. Everyone with me? Okay. Now let's send the etc sys configuration network to the default printer. So, I'm just going to do an LPR to the etc to the sysconfig network, right? I'm going to hit LPQ. Now notice I have my 3rd job here, right? Those are the job orders. The 3rd one I've got is network. So if I do an LPRM, what am I doing now? I'm looking for that job number. So let's look at the job number 3. I just canceled it.
Yeah.
Now if I go to LPQ, I only have that. So I just canceled the host one too.
I didn't put attention to that.
Okay.
Talking about have 3 jobs, but I see a rank, a 1 and a 2. That's
Right, because the first one went through the queue so quick it didn't get catch. That's why we disabled cups so that we could see what's in there. We can allow it to print or cancel it off that print job if you want to manage it. Does that make sense? So now we need to re-enable the queue. Instead of disable, I'm going to just enable, and then let's just do our LPQ. We have no queries now, right? Because everything goes through. Congratulations, that was lab 18 and 19. Now, how many of y'all wish I'd done this starting the semester? Okay.
take back everything I said about you.
I don't really care. If you want to try, 20 will work now because I've put the printer on there so y'all can actually do it.
There is no tune in the Dropbox.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. Okay.
But I gave, if you go under content, I put 20 out there so you could see it.
Okay.
All right. So if you wanted to do that, that's fine.
Okay.
Is it required in this 20? I can't remember.
Oh, 20 is something that y'all wasn't going to do anyway. I wasn't going to let you do it. Basically, it's just adding a printer with a system configuration printer, just what we did, but you can add it to the remote server. But I took down the firewall, so you should be able to do it. But it's not a requirement for y'all to do. Does that make sense?
Right.
Let me just go ahead. Let's see, that first lab was supposed to be 10 to 15 minutes. Second one was 20 to 30, and I did that about, what, 5 minutes, 6 minutes? That's why I'm recording this, so y'all can go back and watch them. What's my time? 6:20. Y'all are here at 6:55. Let me do lab 21. Okay?
I like the way you've broken out all the labs and the things on the
Y'all like that a lot better? How I've redone it to where you only have 4 a week,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be covering those 4 each week.
That is
So you will have it and see it, so you can go do it on your own to get them done.
very good. That's-
But I also like the way you've broken out the labs individually instead of having the whole manual and have to scroll down like, where was I?
Yeah.
Now you got it. This is a lot better.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now, also, the ones that I did give y'all have the answers in here, which the reason I decided to do that is a lot of you were fighting to find the commands.
Yeah.
B, I don't want you to have to pull out your hair before the final. And I'm giving it to you this way because your hands on final will be closed book, closed note. And I will basically say, here's a scenario, now go do it. And there'll be like 20 things on there you're going to have to do. Like create an account with a user. You'll have to create, put them in a group. You're going to have to be able to remote them in to a server like Rose. You'll have to create some files on the server under different folders that will have your names on them.
Just like that class.
Exactly, but more in depth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just curious on that final. Are we going to kind of have an idea? Of
I'm gonna work on that over Christmas break. We will discuss it in class.
Christmas break?
Thanksgiving break. Sorry.
We can go back to our submittals and kind of
Uh-huh.
ready to go.
Exactly. So, and I will basically give you just like I did in NetAdmin. How many of y'all have me for network administration? Okay. The ones that have me for NetAdmin, you know how I do it, right? I give you in advance the steps you're gonna, what I'm grading you on, the rubric. I'm gonna do the exact same thing in here. I'm not gonna tell you what steps need to be done to get to that point, but I will tell you, here's what I'm grading. I will give you that week. You will have it by class the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. That following week, you'll have your hands-on final. You will have your written final due that Tuesday after we get back from Thanksgiving. It'll be an in-class, closed book, closed note.
That's a plan.
But-
it be based on the unit quizzes?
Yes, it will be. And I will open all of them up for you right before Thanksgiving so you can study. Okay? So let me get through these 2 labs real quick and then I'll let y'all go. And then next Tuesday I'll do 4 more, which will be due the following week. So if you go ahead and get these done now, if you get them done by Saturday, they're already in before you on fall break, and then when you come back from fall break, I'm already looking for the ones that'll be doing 2 weeks out. So basically, you'll have a week and a half from the time I discuss them in class to get them done. Does that make it a little easier for you? Instead of having 40 of them do it once, it seems like.
God.
Hey,
I miss like.
I weeded a half the class out.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about network settings. Network settings, we're not going to do this. We're just going to come up here. Network. And network settings, network connection. Okay? Close that. Just click on up here. Click network settings. All right, here's what we've got. If I want to look at this wired connection, I have to come down here to this little arrow or gear. The gear will bring it up and tell me everything I need to know about this connection. My link speed, my IP address, my default route, my DNSs. I can come down here to IPv4 and my what's going on in IPv4. All right. And is there, y'all understand that, right?
Right.
You saw where I got that from? Anyone not see where I got that from? Okay. Now let's go back into the terminal. And all you have to do is do IP address.
Oh.
And it tells you exactly everything you need right there. Here's your IP address. Here's your broadcast. ENS. But it doesn't give you the DNS, does it? So, all you have to do is IP address, show what interface we're doing. Now it gives me the same thing I just saw right here. If I'm looking at a specific one. But does that really tell me anything? No, I need to do my IP route to tell me where everything is going. So anything out of the 10.10.0.0 is going to go on the ENS, but here's my IP address. That's all it tells you. All right? Or I can actually come down and say, what's my host name? Anyone know what the host name is? Local domain. What about cat? Let's do a cat of etc hosts. We already did that one, right? Here's my local one. But I can also do one what we call the resolve configuration file. What does this mean? Anyone know what resolve means? This is the order in which it searches for IP addresses for the network. Localhost is always first, then it goes to the domain rose.labs. It'll search them, then it goes to the DNS 10.10.04, then 2, then 3. Any questions?
Why
Pretty-
did you set that up that way, 4, 2, and 3, rather than 1, 2, and 3?
Because there's 10.10.0.1 is a domain controller.
2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, 4. It's how I added them in. I did 10.10.0.4 first, and then if you go back to the network connections, if I removed 4, then it would be 2, 3, and then I could add 4 at the bottom.
It's just the way they were set up, where they were at.
Yeah, that was the first one I put in. And I said, oh, what the hey, I'll put all of them in there. All right. Now with what we've done, we can say on lab 22, it says give an IP address command to make note of the IP address of the local student system, which you've already done, right? Now we're going to go back in with Secure Shell at rows at class. We're there, right? Now we're going to connect back from the server. Since we're actually on the server at this point, we're going to connect back to our local machine with bin. So SSH bin at whatever your IP address was. So it's 10.10. No, 40.128. Why did it refuse it? I will have to give you all the steps on that one because you're going to each have to go in there and enable your firewall. Let me do it this way. See, it's in lockdown mode. So I'd have to go in there and edit the firewall to allow accept the incoming connection back. All right? Did y'all run into this problem?
I haven't did this one yet. It's 22,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, this is 22. Y'all hold off on 22 until I give you the step modes on it.
Right.
Basically, what you're going to do in this lab is that from bin, you're going to come back in and do some things back on your local machine from the server. But if you're not at...
That's what's good.
Open SSH.
It's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it?
I'll give you the step-by-steps on how to do it. I'm forgetting the OpenSSH. Let me do it this way instead. Yeah, I know. I screwed up the password. Well, it's supposed to be there. Okay. Firewall D. Let me go in here. System CTL disable firewall D. And remove. Fat fingered it. Oh yes, you do. Anyway, like I said, I'll give you the step-by-steps on there so that y'all can actually go back. Basically, you're just going to add something back from the server. That's all you're going to do. Is there any questions on 18 through 22? Did that make it a lot easier for you? Yes, Roger.
Later on, when we're doing this, I need to pull up the video that you're going to post.
It-
for us. On the computers here at the school, can we hear it? Or
If you bring up a headphones or something. Any questions on it? All righty.